You were married during the pandemic and you're writing Slip, which is leaving a marriage and fucking your way through the multiverse of sort of options.
That's the official subtitle, right? That's what we should look for on Roku and Wikipedia when we're looking up the film. Okay.
And you're writing this with your still husband in the next room because you can't leave the house, really. There are fast quits and there are slow quits. And looking at this, Monday morning quarterbacking this, it's clear you were leaving that marriage. To me, an outsider who has never met you, how clear was it to you as you were doing this that this was a process of literally as you're putting pen to paper, typing away, going, and then I would leave, and then who would I fuck? Like that would be, your brain is working it all out.
I actually don't think it was conscious at the time. I was really fighting to stay in my marriage. We both were. We were in and out of an open marriage. We were polyamorous at one point, sort of leading up to quarantine. So I think the show, in addition to it sort of being a way for me to navigate my own individuation, was also me exploring being married and being with other people, which was something that I had been experiencing within the marriage itself. The idea of like this one anchor and then all these what ifs and who you choose and what's going to make you the happiest and how you explore non-monogamy. I think it's such a taboo subject, which I didn't want to talk about like on its head in this piece, but I think that was definitely also fueling some of the work throughout quarantine, as so many of us, like in partnerships, so many things came into hyperfocus that then
Absolutely.
you kind of couldn't look away from.
Is individuating a word or did you make it up?
I think it's a
It is.
word.
Okay. Well, I
It's totally a word.
would have loved it all the same. had you made it up. When you say that you had to individuate your voice, that feels like more of opening a door to something that is already there than it does building a wing of a house that is not yet built. Is that how it actually felt? Did it feel more like permission to think the thoughts that you hadn't been able to before?
In my work or in my life?
Maybe both. I don't know.
Especially being in like a partnership in a sort of like cis hetero partnership where the man is the director. And I was like raised by like the ultimate feminist. So it's interesting that it even took me that long to like sort of individuate my voice or to find my footing as my own sense of artistry. Like, but it is interesting when I look back at how long it did take me. And it did just take one woman, this amazing producer, Alex Madigan. We had lunch one day and she said, "Why aren't you directing?" And it was like the same thing as like the professor in college of like, "You should go do this." It's like, it just sort of took one voice for me to be like, oh yeah, someone else sees that in me. And now I can maybe see it in myself. Individuation is something that fascinates me in general. Like, I think like individuating from one's parents is like a lifelong,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're dead or alive, it's like that idea of like, I am my own person. I am safe within myself. I am like able to use my voice to speak to my questions and answers. And yeah, I'm still very much like in the muck of it. But I think Slip of all things is really like the most profound process of individuation for me as an artist, certainly.
How important is being a sexual being to you? And I'm putting my own process on you. I look forward to not giving a fuck about sex. I feel like I'd be much freer. Like somehow it would allow me to live a more pure, not pure, like religiously pure, but like I would love to never want to have sex because then I would just not have to think about that. And I haven't seen Slip, but from what I'm hearing you say, being a sexual being has been a very important part of your life, of your process, even of your marriage. Do you ever have that thought, or I'm trying to force you to relate to me? You don't have to.
We meet my character in Slip at a moment of crossing a threshold. The past is one that is quite sexless, and she has a sexual awakening. And then that's the journey that she's catapulted on. And I don't think I've ever been a person who has had an uncomplicated relationship to sex. I would say that
Okay.
I've had a very complicated relationship to it. And I think that this show was me doing something that terrified me. You know, the centerpiece of every episode is an orgasm, and it's my
Oh.
naked body on the line in every episode doing that and directing myself doing that. You know, for women in particular, like the orgasm is such a loaded it's such a loaded and sort of a intense totem like in a woman's life. Because they're hard to come by for a lot of
Right,
women.
they're not guaranteed.
No, they
They're
are not.
It's not a slam dunk.
No,
Right.
and for a lot of my life, I think that was my struggle. So this is a piece that is really dealing with the complicated nature of female sexuality and the grief and the trauma and then the aliveness and excitement and sort of seeing the mess that all of it makes. I don't wish for myself that I didn't have sex. And I wish for you that you
didn't
keep
want
having
to have
sex,
sex.
Julie.
I'm saying that